Many thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. I've already done this on a couple photographers already with a 100% accuracy rate. So the findings here are super interesting. So if you could only use one lens for the rest of your life, what would it be? Most of us own multiple lenses, and generally we reach for the one that's best for the scene we're about to photograph. But if you could only use one for the rest of your life, what would yours be? Mine would probably be a 100 or 400 millimeter telephoto lens. I've always loved that focal length as it really suits the type of photography that I really enjoy doing the most. So whatever your answer is to that question, just keep that in the back of your mind throughout the duration of this video. Now, the next question is, do you believe you're an extrovert or an introvert? And if you're not 100% sure, that's okay. A general question you can ask yourself is, do you prefer to work with a group of people on a task or by yourself? Or another question is, does your perfect weekend look like a jam-packed schedule of social events or wide open with zero plans? Regardless whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, just keep that answer also in the back of your mind as well. Now, everything covered in this video, it is just theory as opposed to real concrete evidence, but this topic has been studied extensively, and the findings are actually scary accurate, at least in my experience with it. So to jump right into it, if you're not 100% certain as to what your favorite focal length is, or what your desert island lens is, basically, if you're stranded on a desert island, what lens would you keep for the rest of your life? A great way to figure out what lens you actually use most often. Now, keep in mind, the lens you would pick as your only lens you could use for the rest of your life could be different than the lens that you use most often. And a lot of times people don't know what lens they use most often, but inside of Lightroom, there is a great way to find that out. So if you open up your library module, as I have mine open right now, and you hit the shortcut key \, it's going to drop down this library filter at the top. So as I toggle that \ shortcut key on and off, you can see it popping down from the top. And you have text, you have attribute, you have metadata, or you have none. Now, if you select metadata, this is super interesting. It classifies everything by dates, by what camera you're using, and what lens you're using as well. So as you can see, all the dates are right here, photos taken, all the different cameras I've used. I don't have a ton of information in my, I should say, I no longer keep a ton of photos inside of my Lightroom library in order just to try and keep my computer running as smooth as possible. So I mostly work off of an external drive, but this is everything that's on this computer right now. But as you can see, these are all the cameras that I have used for all of these photos. And then these are the lenses that I've used right through here. So 24 millimeter, 16 to 35. You can see as I scroll down through all of these. But this is an amazing way to truly find out what lens, or what should most importantly, what lens and what focal length that you actually use most often. So I would encourage you to go ahead and look at that information inside of Lightroom to really find out what you use most often. So after you have done that, and you know what lens and what focal length you use most often, and this is where it gets really interesting. And I've got notes over here off camera, so if you see me looking off camera, that's what I'm doing. So what this tells you is whatever your focal length is, whatever lens you use most often, that tells you how you see the world from a photographic perspective. It says how you see scenes or how you want to capture scenes. And it is said that if you mostly shoot with shorter focal lengths, or if you mostly shoot with prime lenses, this could mean that you really want to capture the bigger picture, the grandiose scene. You like to tell the full story where you leave no details to the imagination. You want to tell everything. And this could also mean that you don't mind being front and center. It also means that you don't mind getting very close to your subject. You have no problems getting up close and personal to your subject, whether you're shooting portraits or you're photographing weddings or wildlife or landscapes. It really doesn't matter. Whatever focal length you use most often according to Lightroom could correlate to this information here. So if all of those things sound like you mostly shoot with shorter focal lengths, you mostly, or perhaps mostly shoot with prime lenses, you obviously like to capture the bigger scene. This could possibly lead to one believing that you have a more extroverted personality. Now, on the flip side of that, if you are mostly using longer focal lengths, that means, or I should also add to that, if you mostly use longer focal lengths and you also maybe mostly use zoom lenses, this could mean that you like to photograph from afar. You kind of like to stay in the shadows a little bit. You like to tell a more intimate story, but you like to leave details to the imagination. And if you think about it, when you take a long telephoto photograph, it is a subset of the entire scene that you see. So yeah, it does show very small details of a very tiny pocket of the overall scene. And when you look at a photograph like that, you can see what the photograph is, but it leaves a lot of information around the photo that you can't see. It leaves that to the imagination as well. This also means that you prefer to keep your distance from your subject. It also tells that you could prefer to photograph kind of from the shadows, not being up close and personal to your subject, just from the distance. And if that sounds like you, this could lead to one believing that you have a more introverted personality. So that is super, super interesting. And I'm dying to know, because I think I've done this on maybe 6 or 7 different photographers. It's been spot on every single time. And what's so interesting is a lot of people don't even know about this backslash key inside of the Lightroom module inside of Lightroom, but it's an amazing tool to tell you what focal length you are using most often. And it could possibly correlate to one of these things. So in summary, real quick, if you most often use shorter focal lengths, maybe prime lenses, this could lead to one believing that you have more of an extroverted personality. If you most commonly use longer focal lengths or possibly zoom lenses, this could lead to one believing that you are more introverted. Like I said to start off the video, it is just theory. It is definitely not concrete evidence, but this, ironically enough, has actually been studied quite extensively. So I'm curious if you could leave me a comment below and just let me know if it is somewhat accurate to what you believe your personality is. Does it correlate to the lenses that you use most often according to Lightroom? If you could just leave me a comment below, trying to take a poll as to figure out how accurate this actually is. So I thought that was super interesting. I checked it out on YouTube and I didn't see really any videos on this topic. So I was like, oh, this would be something super interesting to put out there. I always come up with my video ideas based off of things that I would click on inside of YouTube. And this is absolutely something that I would be interested in. So I figured you might be interested in it as well. So before I do wrap things up here, I do just want to say a huge thanks to the sponsor of this week's video, which is Squarespace, who I use for all of my website and e-commerce needs. Squarespace provides a robust and beautiful online platform to develop your website. You can showcase your photography using Squarespace's new Blueprint design system to help guide you through the options to building your online presence from the ground up. You can even display your photography using Squarespace's flexible website design templates and customize the layout in order to make it your own. And with Squarespace's online store feature, you'll have access to all the tools you need to start selling your physical goods, digital content, or service products online with ease. So if you're looking to start a new website or possibly upgrade your current website, check out squarespace.com/Mark Denney for a free trial and 10% off your first purchase. So if you do have any questions about this kind of a personality test and how it correlates to the lenses you use most often, please leave those in the comment section below, and I will do my best to get back in touch with you as soon as humanly possible. And if you did enjoy this week's video, something completely different, I'm always trying to figure out ways to kind of shake things up. I don't want things to get mundane or stale, and I figured this would be a fantastic way to do it. And it's something that I felt was super, super interesting, and I hope you did as well. But if you did enjoy it, if you could, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and as always, I really do appreciate you carving out a little bit of time to spend it with me here today, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Bye.